Welcome to Tuesday Cafe. I'm Sean Canan, and we are broadcasting live on April 1st from the studios of WMNF in Tampa. Later on in the show, we're going to hear a debate in the Florida legislature about a bill to lower the age to purchase rifles to the age of 18. So I hope you stay tuned for that. But first up, on Saturday, there was a protest at a Tesla dealership in Tampa, and you can hear WMNF's Josh Holton's reporting on it at WMNF.org. And joining me right now to talk about why those people were protesting is one of the demonstrators, Dave Coleman. So, welcome to WMNF's Tuesday Cafe, Dave.
Thanks for having me here, Sean.
I'm really glad you could join us. So, tell us about this demonstration. Where was it, and why were people like you protesting?
On North Florida Avenue is a large Tesla dealership that had been mostly vacant for the. I live just up the street from there, and it's been vacant really for a lot of years. Lately, there's been more activity there, but I've been wondering when, because of Doge and Elon and his dismantling of our government before our eyes, that there would be finally a protest there. And I saw an impromptu flyer. It wasn't an event page, and there was no named organizer. So that immediately makes it a little bit of a skepticism for me, because I've been to a number of protests, and I'd really like to go to ones that have marshals and legal observers. But I'm assuming that it's going to be okay. It was close to home. If it went bad, I could leave. But I showed up. I began to photograph some stills, and then I turned on my live. We got there at about 11 o'clock, which was about when it was supposed to start. We were able to park real close. And who else was showing up there? I just gave some of my reasons why I showed up, but it was mostly elders, a lot of retired people. I saw veterans there. There were elderly women. There was one 90-year-old in a walker. That was on my side of the street, which was on the west side of North Florida Avenue, the dealership being across the street. There were several protesters out there by 11 o'clock, and then there was a small one or two American flags on the south side, on the east side. And that grew to about 8 people that were the opposition. They had a large bat poles and Trump flags and whatnot. There were 2 bloggers that showed up on the other side. There was Adam Francisco and also Caitlin Bennett. They're local bloggers. I'll go into that a little bit more later if you have time for it. But we were people that are deeply concerned about our country, been voters all along. In the crowd and in subsequent videos, I saw a lot of my friends from the North Tampa Democratic Party. I saw, it was a variety of people. Some young people did show up at the event, so that's who was there.
And this protest at Tesla dealerships is part of a national movement protesting the connection between Tesla and Elon Musk.
Yes, absolutely. It was a national, it was called as a national thing, but this was a local event. And as I said, there was a table set up when we got there. There was a sign-up sheet with a couple names on it. There was a box of chalk there and some buttons that they had made up that they were giving out. And I met a woman standing next to the table. I said, "Did you organize?" She said she didn't want to take credit for it, but several people did, she said. But it got posted on pages that I'm familiar with, so it got some airtime, and a lot of people showed up. By the time we left, there was at least 150 people there, and about 8 of the opposition on the other side.
And during the protests, tensions flared. What caused all that?
I started that video pretty early on, and by 11:15, I turned to my left and I saw this man coming, and he was surrounded by allies. And one particular woman was screaming, and it was the woman I met at the table. She said, "What are you doing here? What is that lighter for? Give me the lighter. What do you have in your backpack?" But other people were saying he already said he has fireworks and smoke bombs, and he was holding a barbecue lighter in his right hand. By the time they got right in, well, I just was standing there, and they got right in front of me. She reached for the lighter. It was very nefarious looking. I'm wondering what in the world is going on here. And I did say to her, "Don't touch him. That could set something off." and all she did was touch his hand lightly, just to go for that lighter. And instantly, apparently, this guy, his name is Clifford Jordan, we found out by the next day, is a previous MMA coach, retired. This guy, within seconds, forearms the woman, knocking her back, and then had his hand up under her arms, grabbing her throat. At this point, her husband, turns out to be, jumped in on his back and did punch him a couple of times to get him away from his wife. His wife stepped back, but then she joined the melee, and they tussled for a while, and then they began to break up. And this Clifford Jordan is screaming for his mask back, which he had worn into the place. So he's unmasked at this point. I'm still filming, and he's saying, "Where's the guy that punched me? And I want my mask back." And then a fourth person interjected himself. A fellow that was standing nearby walked over to pick up a bag. There were two bags on the ground. He picked up somebody else's bag. He picked up the 90-year-old's. It turns out it had a sun hat and prunes in it. And so that's what he left with. So he couldn't have done any more damage if he wanted to. But he milled around for a while, refusing to leave, and left slowly. Then I noticed to my left that the police had shown up. There were two cars that drove past us. They parked in the auto zone next door, and then they started. One officer walked into the site. So I walked over and I said, "I have all of this on my live stream. Do you want it?" She refuses. She had told me she doesn't want to press any charges, and this fella is walking past us as I'm talking to this Hillsborough County Sheriff's officer. This fellow is walking past us. He had grabbed a piece of chalk off the table and he's drawing, writing stuff on the sidewalk in front of the cop. And I go, "There he is." And the officer had no interest whatsoever in interviewing him, asking him, seeing what was in his pack. I had no idea that the packs were switched at that point. And then later on this blog with this Adam Francisco, 2 minutes into the interview, he said, "I had every intention of lighting off those fireworks. I was going to walk myself a short distance away, and I was going to set off fireworks and make a loud noise." That is his own words. He mocked the 90-year-old. He accused us of stealing his bag, but I found in video clearly where the two bags were and how the person who went to grab the bag grabbed the wrong one. And it had gotten left there. And then somebody else, and I left around noon. Somebody else put in, I don't know who it was exactly, put up on Facebook video of the cop standing in front of the bag on the ground, and one of the protesters walked over, said, "I'll open the bag and see what's in it. We think it's his." And they opened it, and sure enough, it was filled with fireworks. And at that point, the officer picked it up and took it right away from them. But there has been no repercussions to this Clifford Jordan, retired MMA fighter, coach, that lives up in Land O'Lakes.
Well,
So that's my story about the disruption, and quite alarming given the age and status of the people that were in this protest. All jammed on a sidewalk at that point.
Well, that's the voice of Dave Coleman, who was one of the demonstrators on Saturday at a Tesla dealership in Tampa, and we're talking about the videos he took of a confrontation that happened there between what seems to be maybe someone who was trying to be an agent provocateur. So this is a Tuesday Cafe. I'm Sean Canan, and you're listening to WMNF Tampa. So where can people see videos that you took of this confrontation and of this demonstration?
There's a page called Indivisible Tampa Bay. I put a bunch of it up, my stuff up there. And then this Adam Francisco, this fellow Clifford Jordan got 360,000 views. I think that he was not only a provocateur, but he just wanted his moment of fame to go in and do that. But how would we know that as he's walking through carrying this lighter? So on Adam's page, you can see he was right behind me through this event, filming the whole thing. How he got there in a timely manner, I don't know. On his blog, he says, "I wore a red hat to a Tesla protest."
So are there other plans for other demonstrations coming up in Tampa that you know about?
I know of one on this Saturday at City Hall. It'll be like the fifth one of 51 protests that have been going on. They're usually on Tuesdays at 3 o'clock. This particular one is going to be on Saturday at City Hall, Tampa. Last time we had at least 800 people, maybe more. Some people were saying 1,000 on a Tuesday. I'm expecting a large crowd for that. And again, there is people from all walks of life, elders, young people. It's a very peaceful event. There's been no disruption. And I'll say this about Tampa Police Department. They are there. They're on site. They're monitoring. Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office was atrocious. They don't care about the safety of its citizens. At Tampa, they're within earshot. Well, the police station's right across the street from the city hall. But even regardless that, in all the protests I've been in Tampa, they have bicycle cops that are within earshot. They are monitoring people on film. You just know that. And when something happens, they're there in a moment. It's been my experience for the past 8 years that that's the truth. In Hillsborough County, they have a reputation of gassing and beating students at USF last year, let alone what they did just this Saturday. They did show up. They lied to another news person saying that no, they never got a call about this until 2 in the afternoon. Well, it's a fact that they were there. That officer was on the site by 11:35 in the morning on Saturday. So they can't even tell the truth to a news person calling them.
Well, Dave, is there anything else that you want to mention before I let you go?
That's about it. Save our country. If you're sitting there screaming at the TV, come out on Saturday and show the world that this isn't America. This isn't what we're about.
Well, I want to thank you very much for coming on Tuesday Cafe, Dave. Dave Coleman was one of the demonstrators at the anti Elon Musk protest at a Tampa Tesla dealership that happened on Saturday. This is WMNF Tampa Tuesday Cafe.